News of a sudden accident in Russia naturally draws significant public and international attention, particularly when it occurs in a region of strategic, economic, or social importance. Headlines such as "Tensions Rise" are often used to describe the immediate atmosphere following such incidents, but it is important to approach these moments with care and perspective. An accident, by definition, is an unexpected event, and its initial impact is often marked by uncertainty rather than confirmed conclusions. In modern information environments, rapid news circulation can amplify concern before verified details emerge. Russia, like any large and complex country, experiences accidents related to infrastructure, transportation, industry, or natural causes. The scale of the country, its diverse geography, and its extensive industrial networks mean that such incidents, while unfortunate, are not unusual in absolute terms. What matters most in these situations is how institutions respond, how information is communicated, and how public safety is prioritized. In the immediate aftermath of a sudden accident, heightened tension is a natural human response. Emergency services mobilize, authorities secure the area, and media outlets begin reporting preliminary information. During this phase, uncertainty often creates an atmosphere of concern, both domestically and internationally. However, this tension should not automatically be interpreted as political instability or systemic failure. In many cases, it reflects the seriousness with which the situation is being handled. Russian authorities typically emphasize rapid response and containment in such scenarios. Emergency management structures, medical services, and investigative bodies are activated to assess the situation, assist those affected, and determine the cause of the incident. This process takes time, and responsible reporting requires patience while facts are established. Premature conclusions can lead to misinformation, which may unnecessarily increase public anxiety. International observers often watch such developments closely, especially when the accident involves critical infrastructure or high-profile locations. This attention is part of the interconnected nature of today's world, where events in one country can have perceived implications beyond its borders. However, global interest does not mean that every accident carries geopolitical consequences. Many incidents remain localized and are resolved through standard safety and investigative procedures. From a broader perspective, moments like these highlight the importance of institutional preparedness. Russia's experience in managing emergencies, whether related to transportation, industry, or natural disasters, has led to the development of structured response mechanisms. These systems are designed not only to address immediate risks, but also to prevent similar incidents in the future through investigation and reform. Therefore, Part 1 emphasizes the need to distinguish between immediate emotional reactions and long-term realities. While tensions may rise temporarily due to uncertainty, this phase is often followed by clarification, accountability, and corrective action. Understanding this process helps place the news in a balanced and informed context. As more information becomes available, the focus typically shifts from immediate response to analysis and explanation. This phase is crucial, as it determines how the incident is understood by the public and how lessons are drawn for the future. In Russia, investigative bodies are tasked with identifying the technical, human, or environmental factors that contributed to the accident. This process is guided by legal frameworks and professional standards, rather than speculation. Media coverage during this stage plays a significant role in shaping public perception. Responsible journalism prioritizes verified facts, official statements, and expert analysis. However, in a competitive global media environment, there is often pressure to frame events dramatically. Phrases like "rising tensions" can sometimes reflect heightened attention rather than actual unrest. It is important for audiences to differentiate between descriptive language and confirmed developments. Within Russia, public discussion following an accident often includes calls for improved safety measures, infrastructure upgrades, or regulatory oversight. Such discussions are a normal part of civic life and indicate engagement rather than disorder. Societies progress by examining shortcomings openly and seeking solutions, especially after unexpected events highlight areas for improvement. Government communication also becomes increasingly important at this stage. Transparent updates help reduce uncertainty and build public trust. When authorities provide clear timelines, explain investigative procedures, and acknowledge concerns, tension tends to subside. This approach demonstrates institutional responsibility and reinforces confidence in governance structures. International reactions, if any, usually focus on expressions of concern or offers of assistance. These responses are part of standard diplomatic practice and should not be misinterpreted as signals of crisis. In many cases, they reflect solidarity and recognition of shared challenges, particularly in areas such as transportation safety, industrial regulation, or disaster response. Another key aspect of post-accident analysis is the role of expertise. Engineers, safety specialists, and independent analysts contribute technical insights that help explain what happened and why. Their input is essential for moving beyond emotional reactions toward constructive outcomes. In Russia, as elsewhere, expert involvement is a cornerstone of improving safety standards and preventing recurrence. It is also important to recognize the resilience of affected communities. While accidents can be traumatic, communities often respond with cooperation, mutual support, and adaptability. These social responses are an overlooked but vital part of recovery. They demonstrate that temporary tension does not define a society's long-term stability. Thus, Part 2 shows that rising tension after an accident is often a transitional phase. As facts replace uncertainty and response mechanisms take effect, focus shifts toward learning and improvement. This process reflects functional governance and social responsibility rather than persistent instability. Over time, the narrative surrounding a sudden accident typically evolves into one of reflection and reform. Once investigations conclude and findings are released, attention turns to implementing recommendations and strengthening preventive measures. This stage is critical for ensuring that lessons learned lead to tangible improvements rather than remaining abstract conclusions. In Russia, infrastructure modernization and safety enhancement have been ongoing priorities, particularly in sectors such as transportation, energy, and industrial production. Accidents, while regrettable, often accelerate these efforts by highlighting specific vulnerabilities. Policy adjustments, technological upgrades, and training initiatives may follow, contributing to long-term risk reduction. Public discourse during this phase becomes more measured. Initial tension gives way to evaluation of institutional performance and future preparedness. This transition demonstrates the capacity of a political and administrative system to absorb shocks and respond constructively. Stability is not defined by the absence of incidents, but by the ability to manage and learn from them. From an international perspective, such developments contribute to shared knowledge. Safety improvements in one country can inform best practices elsewhere, particularly in industries that operate across borders. In this way, even negative events can generate positive outcomes by strengthening global standards and cooperation. It is also worth noting that language matters when describing these situations. Framing an accident solely in terms of tension can obscure the broader context of response, recovery, and reform. A more balanced narrative acknowledges concern while also recognizing competence, responsibility, and resilience. This approach fosters understanding rather than fear. Ultimately, the news of a sudden accident in Russia should be viewed as part of an ongoing process rather than a defining moment. The immediate rise in tension reflects human concern and media attention, but it does not determine the long-term trajectory of governance or social stability. What defines that trajectory is how institutions act, how transparently information is shared, and how effectively lessons are applied. In conclusion, today's Russia news, tensions rise after a sudden accident, captures a moment of heightened attention, but the deeper story lies in response and resolution. When examined carefully, such events reveal not only challenges, but also the mechanisms through which societies address them. Through measured analysis, responsible communication, and continuous improvement, temporary tension can lead to greater resilience and preparedness in an increasingly complex world.